Hey, we're live. Welcome,
All right.
everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Miles, for hopping on and getting to talk about one of my most favorite reads of the year, Bog Standard Isekai.
Yep, my absolute pleasure. It's good to be
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. Um, Looks like we've got a few people in the chat. So great. I'm glad that we are able to have everybody join us tonight. I've got There we go. I gotta mute my live on YouTube so we don't get echo. So, but good evening, folks. We're here with Miles to talk about his book, Bog Standard Isekai, Scarred. I've actually read the first three, but we're gonna try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible because you all need to go read these books. And we're gonna talk about his journey as a writer. I picked up Bog Standard Isekai at Dragon Con. I went to the Shadow Alley booth. I took the picture with the dog.
That's right.
Yeah, it was like you just had to. I haven't read Discount Dan yet, but it just couldn't resist that cardboard cutout of the dog.
Yeah, for those who weren't at Dragon Con, shame on you. But second off, they made this giant cardboard cutout of this dog. He's like blue with black polka dots, and it's like his butt is got a cutout, and you can put your face there.
Yeah.
So it was quite popular at the from the Dragon Con.
Yes, and 5 years, Gary's gonna come with that picture, and we're all just gonna have dog butt pictures.
Yep.
So
yeah, but future historians will have no idea what was going on there. That was one of those moments.
Yeah. So as a Marsh, I figured I had to pick up Bog Standard, and I think we even talked about it, and I said, Marsh approves of this book or whatever, and it was a fun little moment, and so
yeah, I mean, if your name is Marsh, you have to pick up every Bog related book.
It's absolutely. It's just one of those things where you go with the flow. So I actually did a combo where I have the books. So I did reading and I listened to it. I had kind of double dipped, when I was driving or whatever I was listening to it. So the narration is by Jonathan McLean, and he does a great job.
Phenomenal. He is like a legend. I don't know how far to get into this, but like he was my number one choice. Jeanette reached out to me and she's like, "Hey, do you guys what kind of narrator would you want?" And I was like, what I really want is like a mature tenor with a wide range who and I can be like more on the expressive side. And so sort of like John McClane. And they're like, well, let's reach out to Jonathan McClane, and they got him. So I was like, no way, because he's like, he did a bunch of books that I had read before. Like I hadn't even realized he was doing lit RPG. I had read Noobtown, but I didn't listen to it. So he did a YA sci-fi series that I had loved, and he did the Reacher books. So like it was like starstruck moment when I actually heard his voice like reading my words. I'm like, I'm not worthy. So it was really cool, really good experience.
Isn't it awesome just to have the narrator just breathe life into the page? I mean, now after listening to Richie for my book, there's just moments where I'm writing and I'm just hearing Richie's voice talking. Yeah. Do you have that?
Yeah.
With you?
Oh yeah, no, totally. A lot of authors like say they don't listen to their own narration, and I just like, you're crazy, because that's just like a magical moment. It's the moment where like I get to experience the story like as an audience member, because like hearing the voice, I've like hearing him say the words, I've like completely divorced my own voice from it, and now I'm just like experiencing it as an audience member for the first time, and it's so fun. So yeah, it's crazy. And it's that moment where you're like, before this was just like kind of this thing, and I kind of knew I had readers, but they all exist like in the void somewhere. But then you hearing someone like narrating your words, you're like, oh, this has become a thing, hasn't it? Like, that's where it starts to become real.
That's Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you had experience. I think as a fellow author, I'm gonna have to take notes like, a mature tenor with high expression. Like however you phrase that, like, okay, that's how we are supposed to ask for narrators.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, but like that's I was like, I had a narrator before for the In Another World series, and he did a good job, but then like that got me in the mode of like, I need to start like listening to people and like really listening to them and like what sets this guy apart from others. And so once that had been like petering around in my head for a while, and so it kind of, so this time when they asked, I was ready. I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly the kind of voice that I want for this. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll be funny because in a year or two, all of us authors will finally get our act together and be like, we would like a mature baritone with,
Yeah.
a good system voice or whatever, and all the narration companies will be like, where is this coming from? We'll trace it back to this podcast. So
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
this is it. This is the origin. Yep.
Yeah. Well, okay, so the story follows Mark, a 20-something from our world that gets isekai'd during a car crash. Into a boy's body, and he kind of comes to in like this burnt out, undead, ravaged village all alone in the middle of a bog, right? And that's kind of the opening scene for folks. It's I like I said, I fell in love with it from read a lot of lit RPG, read a lot of isekai, and this one is just very well structured. There's really a sense of progression. The story is going somewhere, and having read all 3 books, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but you really give a sense of what's coming next and what's the dangers that are lurking out in the bogs. It's great. Yeah. So really enjoyed it. Before we get into the meat of it though, should we, I run into you at a con, should I call you that bog guy? Should I call you Miles? How would you like to be addressed by?
Miles is my real name. Miles English is me. So like, yeah, just call me Miles. You can call me that bog guy. I'll answer to that. I'll answer to a lot of things, but yeah.
Okay.
I didn't do a pen name, so yeah. Mr. English, yeah. You could call me Dr. English. I don't deserve it, but you could,
Okay.
So, yeah. No, just Miles is fine.
Miles. All right. Well, thanks, Miles. All right. So Mark, the main character, one of the things I like about the intro of Bog Standard is you do this thing about language where it's not, he doesn't just get this simple translation skill where everybody just speaks English the whole time. You actually translate kind of his name Mark, into the native language of the bog. And his name translates to Scar the Mistaken, which I think is hilarious. So can you talk a little bit about what like possessed you to do that, or what your reason was?
I think when you're writing about humans have a culture, and a culture is a language and a food and a music, right? And that's obviously like we're minimalizing what a culture means, but like you at least have those 3 things, and I think those are the 3 things that are missing from a lit RPG. So it's like I'm gonna make sure I get those elements. What normally happens is, how many animes have you seen where the guy goes to another world and then the first thing he wants to do is invent soy sauce, and then everyone is like mind blown by this invention.
Oh my
like,
gosh,
this is the greatest thing I've ever tasted, and it's like that's nobody's first experience with soy sauce is to be blown away by it. Like that's not real. But if you're a Japanese person, that's the fantasy. And then American lit RPG writers like do that all the time. Like they go to another world and the other world is like, we do have our own customs and culture. And he's like, I don't want to hear about that. Do you need me to explain Star Wars again? I'm going to explain Star Wars again. I don't want to hear about your Ooga Booga culture. So
have you heard a thing called a hamburger? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Right? They're like, have you heard of pizza? And yeah, it's like, you know what? Like, and that is fun. And I do that. So I can't tell people like, don't do that. There are a lot of moments where I do that exact thing, where he brings something from our world and everybody is blown away by it, because that is the fantasy, and I'm not subverting the fantasy, but I also want to like take this seriously. Like he is not just going to this like, Western United States by a different name. He's going to a new world, and so they will have that stuff. So if anything, I wish I had taken the language a little more seriously. Like I put it in where I think of it and where it fits in the story, but obviously, there's always more you can do. It's just, if you're ever going to finish the book, sometimes you just have to say,
so you have to let go of some of that. I mean, it was just a nice head bob to language in general. I mean, we are writers, right? So yeah. So I think language is interesting. So I was like, as much as I can, I'm going to do that. And even though everyone is going to be speaking English, because we're translating the whole book into English, so if Bryn understands the language, we're just going to put it there. But I wanted like the cultures to have a distinct voice, and so it's like, even though
it's all translated, if you're speaking in a language, different topics will come up more than others, you know,
Yeah.
and just because of how the words work. And so as much as I can, I wanted to do that kind of thing and just make it feel like, okay, we're not going to make you learn a vocabulary, but we do still want you to feel like this is a new world. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Miles, your brother, it looks like, points out that they're making fun of me for having read all 3 books, where there's actually, it sounds like 5 on, including Royal Road books, right? You're about finishing up book 5. So what I need to do is just pick up Royal Road.
I haven't been reading these comments, so language is interesting.
Yeah.
Rose babe is literally English. Hey, okay, true, valid, but still hurtful, guys. Still.
Yeah. And Ryan, I'm still waiting for the embarrassing moment for Miles that we can share that at the end. So
I have none. I have lived a flawless life, so he's
that,
over there like
that sounds like a personal challenge. Yeah.
He's like, tell him about the mayonnaise, Miles.
There we go. That's the best you can come up with, Ryan. You need to. All right. So let's dive back into it. Can you explain for our audience what is a bog standard?
Oh yeah. So when I was writing this, I thought that was a phrase that everybody knew, and it turns out that's a very British idiom. Like that's not an American thing at all. So bog standard just means normal. It's like just completely regular, and that's kind of the joke of the book, is that like it's bog standard isekai. It actually came from, so before I get into that, we pulled my Discord after a while, after people had been reading bog standard isekai for a year, and I was like, how many of you actually had heard the phrase bog standard before the book was? And it was about 40% had heard it before. So I thought it was a common knowledge. It turns out like not at all. So if you haven't heard that, don't feel dumb. Like half of people have not ever heard that before.
Yeah.
You don't watch enough British comedy, but like we can forgive you for that.
I was gonna say, can you trace back where it came from for you, his British comedy?
I'm sure it was like the IT crowd or I mean something from that era. I also really liked Sherlock, so I mean it's got to be one of those two, because
I just snuck in. Yeah.
So it originally started because I was talking to James, and like my In Another World series was like struggling a little bit. Hopefully I'll come back to it someday, but like it wasn't selling like I wanted, and I was like, maybe one of the reasons is that I went to too many places with this. Like I tried to pull in every genre that I liked, and not all of them worked all at the same time, like in the same story. So the next story, I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel. I'm going to try and write a normal lit RPG. It's going to be a bog standard isekai. And then I was like, oh, that's the title. So we went there. And so, and that actually helped me discover some of the world building. It's not a major spoil, but he eventually gets to the town that he spends 90% of the book in, and it's called Hammond's Bog. And sort of an inside joke in Hammond's Bog is that if somebody has created something of masterwork quality, they will give it the title bog standard. And so like to everyone else in the world, they'll see it and be like, oh, bog standard, I guess that's ordinary. But to them, they know like it's a masterwork. And so that's an inside joke for kind of the book. It's like, it is going to follow the ordinary tropes of the genre, but we're going to do it really well, and hopefully it'll be just a high quality book. So
it'll be a bog standard.
It'll be a bog standard book. Yeah,
I love it. What's going to happen is, people will be like, hey, can you give this the bog standard stamp of approval? You have books with Miles English says this is the bog standard.
I should get like a stamp that says bog standard. I have like a bog standard seal icon that I put all over the place, but and I think I made some stickers of it at some point, but a stamp is a good idea.
You need a stamp.
Yeah. Yes,
absolutely. So there's a couple questions in the chat. We're going to have like a question period, so we'll get to those. So keep thinking about what your questions are going to be, and we'll hop over. I've got a couple more of my own, and then we'll hop into audience questions. So so it's not only is it bog standard, so the normal isekai, but it takes place in a bog, and Hammond Bog is like the main place for some of the stories.
For the first like 2.5
Yeah.
books. Yeah.
Personally, I actually grew up in a boggy, swampy area in Michigan, and I would say that you've got two things wrong about a bog. You need way more mosquitoes, so you got to add
Yeah.
more mosquitoes in.
Fair.
And in your books, there's a lot more undead than I remember in Michigan growing up.
You just didn't go camping enough. I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe bog
I'm
people.
sure I got a lot more than two things wrong. I grew up in a desert, and so like someplace where things grow on their own without needing to be watered, and like life just springs up even when you don't want it to. That
Mhm.
sounds like just otherworldly exotic to me. Because like I just like if you water the grass, it'll grow, and if you don't, it'll turn into dust. You know, like there's so like it's
Yeah.
it's but it's you know there's some story things you can do. If there's trees everywhere, then a zombie can sneak up on you. If
Yeah.
it's empty and you can see for 10 miles, it's a lot harder to do that in the narrative. So you know
Mhm.
there's other reasons for it. No, I think
So did the bog setting just kind of spur from the title of Bog Standard Isekai, or was there something that inspired you to go to a bog for your setting?
it kind of I mean when I had the book, it all kind of came together at the same time. It's hard to tell. It was a little bit from the title, but like my pocket novel that I wrote like to learn how to write that I will never show anyone also took place in like a swampy forest. I just think like there's a lot of spooky elements, and I'm like trying to get like a little bit of that horror vibe when the main bad guy appears. And so yeah, like so the evil forest just really works for that kind of thing to set the mood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair. I also throw in swampy bogs in my books to.
You should write about a desert. And just get some symmetry here.
Yeah. The climax of my book actually takes place in a desert inspired by a
yes.
slot canyon that I hiked in Utah. So yeah.
Oh, dude, perfect.
So yeah, symmetry's going. All right, so let's get to a couple of these questions. I've got one from, let's see. Oh, Jan as asking if there were any books that inspired you to write the Bog Standard.
Gosh, books. I mean, yes, but like there's so many that it's hard to say one. We were talking about Beneath the Dragon Eye Moon, and like a lot of I really like a lot of stuff from the power system there. So you see a lot of similarities there. There's a book called Budding Scientist in a Fantasy World. I think it's called something else when they published on Amazon, but that has some like magic system that I really liked. And then some of the stuff that that James Hunter wrote, the Viridian Gate, and then Rogue Dungeon. That kind of was like my entry point into lit RPG. So that's kind of like why I wanted lit RPG in the first place. And like The Good Guys. That really showed that the lit RPG genre can be really crazy and fun. That was the first one that I'd read where it's like, no, I'm not going to sit down and litigate the magic system for 10 hours. The first thing I'm going to do is get in a fight, and that's going to lead to another fight. And it's just going to be fights all over. And it's just like action packed. So it kind of showed like how to do pacing my books are way slower than that, so I can't really brag that I pace
but you
it
don't
well,
I mean you don't do
yeah.
like a big info dump on how the system works for hours and hours. You do kind of space it out.
Yeah, but I've been reading fantasy since like I was a kid, and so a lot of the plot structure I crit from there, because I wanted to just not write a lit RPG where like the only thing that happens is he fights a monster, gets stronger, and then fights a bigger monster. I wanted every book to have its own story, like in book that has a beginning, middle, and end. So, and there's a few people in the genre that did it before me and have done it well, but those are those were my.
I think I mean as I've read the series, I think that is something that sets you apart, is that you might be writing on Roll Road, you might be doing a serial, but your books are there. You have an arc for each book, and you've got seeds for the next book's arc or for the whole series storyline, but you're not leaving people hanging on the main plot for each book, which is I appreciate as a reader. So Yeah. No, it's noticeable. So,
Thanks.
yeah.
It's hard, and I try, and so it's good that it pays off.
Yeah. So Jen wants to know what your lit RPG gateway book was. I think you mentioned it, but I didn't catch the name either.
So the first kind of genre book was, I don't think it actually is a lit RPG, but I listened to a promo of Dakota Kraut's the Dungeon Core.
Yeah.
I think it's called Divine Dungeon was the first one.
Yeah.
And I listened to the first one, and I'm like, this is not
This is not your
recognizable
standard fantasy.
as
Yeah.
anything that I've ever seen before.
Mhm.
It's like, it's so different. And so like, it's like I picked it up on Audible just from having stumbled onto a promo, and then that got me like into the zone. Cause like, you could kind of call that a lit RPG, but he is a lit RPG writer. And so like moving from there, I think Viridian Gate Online was my first actual like lit RPG.
Yeah.
And a lot of as this was happening, Ryan was posting his Acts of Androcles novel on Royal Road for the first time, and so like then I started to see the whole world of lit RPG, and it's like, whoa, there's a lot of this stuff out here.
Yeah.
So there was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dungeonborn was actually my first lit RPG too. For similar, I didn't pick up the audio. I just saw, I just read a synopsis. And I was like, oh, I'll click buy 99 cents,
Yeah.
see what this is. And then it's just, it was just, you just get into it. And
yeah, exactly. I'll give it a shot. And that 10 years later, you're writing in the genre. You're,
you've given up your day job and you're making a living doing it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, all right, I'm going to hop to a couple more of my questions, and then we'll go back to audience questions. So if you haven't put any of your questions in there, keep going, and we'll get to them. So witches play a big role in bog standard. While culturally they're generally hated, or there's some kind of evil connection to witches, you actually you've written in some really good witches that are positive. Can you talk to us a little bit about the witch class and the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious that like the whole witch situation is going to be like a main thing through the book. I didn't start Bog just to hate on witches, but they are kind of like really useful as a nemesis, because they're not just a big monster, and they're not just mages. So I was like looking at this, and I was looking at the magic system, and you have mages, and the way that they gain power is through like, study, through like intellectualism and knowledge. And I wanted an alternate magic system that's more about relationship management and passion and emotion and, dominance and submission, like as it comes up in the story. And so, and so we can split those two into, mages and witches, and witches make a really interesting bad guy, because it's not a demon king standing in his tower. It's like these people are, masters of deception and manipulation. And so like they just always keep you on your toes, and it really makes for a ton of tension to always have that threat lurking. And my readers, like, some people are like, oh, I don't want to hear about witches all the time. But like most people are like, every character that comes on screen, they're like, are they a witch? Are they being manipulated by a witch?
You actually have a whole book that's pretty focused on that.
Yeah,
like very Sherlock Holmesy sort of, is this person a witch? Yeah.
And so I love the mystery of it, and I also love like the moral dilemma that it gives, because it doesn't have to be an evil class. And we do like show in the story that it's like, look, just the bare minimum of mature restraint and the bare minimum of like a halfway workable moral system, and you could use this class to do a phenomenal amount of good in the world. And nobody does that, because it's so easy to just like make yourself eternally young and turn everyone into your slaves instead.
The dark side is strong.
And so that friction there has been just an absolute pleasure to write about. So that's where it comes from. The other thing is, like, have you seen the show Practical Magic? It's a movie. It's like Sandra Bullock, I think, like
Yeah,
30 years
yeah,
ago.
Sandra. Yeah, they're making a
And
second one. I think
yeah,
it's coming
and
out
okay,
this year.
the entire movie, I was just like, they have that opening scene where they try to hang the witch, and like, I don't forget what she does. She like magics her way out of it, and then they all just run away. And I'm just like, people, that is a witch. If it fails the first time, try again. Get an axe and cut off her head. What are you doing? And then they don't, though. They run away, and because they're such cowards, hundreds of years of evil are allowed to take place. Like there's family after family that's shattered because of this genealogy curse, and it's just like, man, we really just need to kill more witches. And so like that feeling is something that you can bring into Bog.
Mm-hmm. Now, to be clear, we're not adding for witch hunts.
Yeah, no, definitely. And a big part of the story is like advocating for why you shouldn't do witch hunts, because it's like more often than not, the people that you kill are completely innocent, and you actually aren't that good at catching real witches.
Yeah.
And
yeah, or like it's the witch that saves your life, even from the witch that's evil, or all the things that go along with that moral ambiguity. Yeah.
And in the story, the good witches do outnumber the evil ones. It's just that when you're evil and have no restraint, you can do a lot more bad than good people can do good. So
yeah,
not advocating, and don't take this and kill your Wicca friend next door. That's not what we're saying.
No.
They're fun stories. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so we got a slew of questions here. So your brother wants to know if didn't you pick the title of the book just to annoy your wife?
I mean, I base all of my book titles on puns or things that I think is funny and no one else does, and so there was definitely
just a side effect,
a large element of that in there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. How about your writing schedule and process? How do you recover? So it sounds like you've got a day job right now. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you recover from your day job enough to do the creative thing?
I mean, it comes and goes. Because it really is. I'm like a programmer, so I'm writing all day, and it's just for different audiences. Because as a programmer and then as an author, one audience is like our machines that will just read every single line and look for the tiniest mistake and then freak out. And then the other audience is computers. And so
I'll give you points on that.
Yeah. No, it comes and goes. If I'm really busy at work, then it's harder, and there's just more hours that'll happen on the weekend and late at night. And if I'm less busy at work, or if I'm busy like at something that's not coding, there's a lot of my job that's like just talking to people and waiting for stuff to happen and going to meetings. And that stuff doesn't drain me as much. And once in a while I'll find an hour or two to squeeze out here and there. So you kind of just have to make it work. Everybody has the same amount of hours in a day. If you want to do it, then you'll do it.
Yeah. Do you try to write like every day, or at least 3 or 4 times a week? Or
I would love it if I was a person that could write every day. I could keep up this pace with 1,000 words a day. And if I did that, it wouldn't take me that long. I could knock that out in an hour or less every day, and it would not destroy my life. But what I actually do is I wait until the last minute of the deadline every single time, and then frantically write until I get it done. And so, yeah, it ends up being, I have 2 chapters a week. I write them in 2 days a week, and then the rest of the time I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah. I think it's surprising. I mean, I've interviewed like a dozen authors at this point, and it seems like 90% of the authors I interview are kind of like that, where it's kind of unscheduled chaos, last minute deadline chasing. And then there's Jay Krause, who is crazy. So
yeah. But like, it kind of has to be that way, because it's like there's a lot of my process that depends on daydreaming. And you can't just like force that because you're stressed and you need to get something done now. Like most of this story comes from me putting on some music and going on a long walk. That's where the ideas come. That's where I figure out how I'm going to finally bring all this home. Staring at your computer screen, being like, oh, I have a deadline. I need this done now. Like that's part of it too, but it can't all be that. I need the off days where it's just like a daydream that I can like think about without the pressure of needing to get the story done right now. So
Yeah.
it would be nice if I could write more. If I would love to give you guys a 3,000 word chapter every day, but like I just don't think that the story that I would write at that pace would be worth reading. So
Yeah.
it's got to be the way it is.
Yeah. Well, is your goal to eventually be a full-time writer, or do you think you'll do the day job writing split?
I would love to be a full-time writer, but my day job is really good and it's really stress-free most of the
It's the
time.
golden handcuffs
And
sort of.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So like I would, and yeah, like it's really stable. So like I would need to be making a lot, or I would need to have achieved the situation where I don't actually ever need to work again because
Yeah.
I have enough saved up that I can because it's like Bach is doing really good this year. It's been just overwhelming how much support it's been getting from the audience, and that's so cool. But like you never know with writing. I've seen people that are make $1 million their first year and never sell another book again, and I know people that write for 15 years and then blow up on year 16. Like you never know how the future is going to go. So until I can say for sure that it doesn't matter how the future is going to go, I'll probably keep them both.
Yeah.
Especially if I was single, it'd be one thing, but the kids need health insurance. Like you got to pay for soccer games, volleyball games in my case.
I think that's one thing that writers underestimate is the lightning strike sort of nature. I mean, you can do all the things that you're told you're supposed to do, and it might take 15 years, it might happen tomorrow, and there's just an element of that luck stat that comes into play,
really,
right?
Really.
Yeah,
because like people are like, how do you do Royal Road? And it's like, I can tell you exactly what to do, but like what you really need to do is release bog standard isekai exactly when I released it, exactly the way I released it. That's what you have to do. Anything else is just speculation.
It's like, what's the special sauce for Rising Stars? It's like, well,
yeah, exactly. Well, right. The story that the people that are randomly picking it up that day really wanted to read, whatever that is, wherever they are.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna hop back to my question. Then we've got a bunch more. Audience, you guys are doing a great job coming up with questions, and we're gonna get to all of them. You might be here for a while, but we'll get to them. Sure. So my question for you is, this is something that I think our genre struggles with a little bit, is the balance, right? So your main character Bryn, so Mark translates into Bryn, which is Scarred the Mistaken, right? But he has some really overpowered individuals in his life that take him in, but he also has like very overpowered enemies. How do you balance not having either group just overpower his narrative? He's got his mentor Hog is could wave away many of his problems, and also he's got enemies that could just like squish Hog and the whole village overnight. So how do you balance that in your narrative?
Yeah, and it's a Dumbledore and Voldemort problem again, because you have somebody who really could solve all the problems, and you have a bad guy who the main character really could never stand up against. And so like and so the action has to happen in the middle somehow. And one way you could do that is just make the mentor really stand off and really stupid and not notice all the stuff that's going on. But it's like I really wanted to avoid that. Yeah. And so honestly, I once again, I don't know.
Hog's just kind of a jerk. He's not stupid. He's just kind of a jerk.
He's got his own, philosophy on the right way to live your life, and that is like you need to kill a lot of bad guys personally, and that's experience that every young child needs to have for themselves. And so, like, and there's some story reasons why he can't step in, and so like, or he just wants Bryn to handle this on his own, and he thinks he can, and he'll step in if he needs to. And so like, there's different ways. I think that, like I said, it's got to be a balance. And
is it something that you think about a lot as you've written the series, or has it just kind of naturally, the narrative's kind of sprung up that way?
That, I mean, it was always part of the outline, but then like exactly the way it comes out is sort of like, an emergent process. It's like you never really know what the book is until you've read it. So it was always something that I really tried to toe the line about, because it's like I really wanted Bryn to feel like a protagonist, like he's doing things that
Matter.
makes matter, and that are are going to drive the story forward. The protagonist has to be the one that takes the action to make the story continue. But at the same time, like I didn't want to live in a world where everyone but the main character is an idiot, and that's really hard to do. It's like the default is to be like, I went to this fantasy world and I'm the first one to have a brain. And so
Yeah.
I thought
I'm the first one with the IQ over,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so I thought of all these obvious loopholes that anyone being here 5 minutes would notice, but I'm the only one that noticed it. So I get the secret power.
Including soy sauce, right?
Yes, especially soy sauce.
Yeah.
And so, so it's not easy to do that. One thing you can do is like give the character stakes that are not, am I going to survive the next encounter? It's like, am I going to discover the secret that this town is hiding? Am I going to fix my relationship with this person that I care about? Am I going to, like become more popular with all of the bullies that are in my life? So like you got to put the story into more places other than
Fight.
Am I going to survive the next day? And if you're not going to do that, then you have to surround your character with either nobody or with morons, and I didn't want to do either of those.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the diversification of stakes is really important to keep a book breathing, right, and live. Yeah
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to hop back into some of the reader questions. Our next one is there anything about your novelist journey that you weren't expecting or that surprised you, or something that you learned that was unexpected?
I think like you never expect it to actually succeed. I always kind of thought this would just be like this chill little hobby that I do. And it's like, it's something I can talk about at parties. Like, oh yeah, I'm an author. Oh no, it's not going anywhere. It's just for fun.
There's like tax implications, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be like how it was going to go. And so you don't expect people to be like, no, this was really cool. I liked it a lot. Like that can't be right. Yeah. So, you never expect that. And you also don't expect like the level of feedback you get. If 10,000 people read your book and 1% of them really don't like it, that's really good odds. You're doing really well. But what you don't realize is that 1% is 100 people who hated it, and they're going to let you know. And so, and
at the top of their lungs in all caps.
And it's such a first world problem, and it's such like it shouldn't be an issue, but it does get to you. Like the human brain was not wired to get criticized by 100 strangers all at the same time one day. It's just like when that happens, you're like, did I screw up? Did I ruin it? It's like, no, most people liked it. It's just that like the ones that didn't will come after you. So it's like, and it's like, did I expect this? Yes. Every writer tells you this. You have to develop a thick skin. You have to, like not let those people get to you. But it's like easier said than done, bro. They're gonna,
and that doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes time to develop that thick skin, and maybe a few bad reviews, and
So it's like there's a couple days where it just like they all happen at once, and it's like you're just bummed the whole rest of the day. But eventually, you do develop it. It does happen, and it just it takes some time.
Have you had the opposite effect too? I've experienced this. I hadn't been on Royal Road until this year, and developing a community of people that want to, they want that next chapter. They're really encouraging and are part of the community or whatever has helped me from like a motivational perspective, and just having people. Have you had that as well with your fans?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I was like struggling to write 1,000 words a week back when I was just writing to nobody. And like, I thought that was a good pace. And like, hey, 1,000 words a week, that's a book in 2 years. That's 100% more book than most people are writing. So I was happy with that, But like when people are expecting 2 chapters a week, I got to deliver 2 chapters a week, and I make it happen. And so it's like, it's not even that it like stresses me out to do that. It's like, now I have that expectation. And so now I can fulfill it. And If I don't, there better be a good reason, because a lot of people will ask. So from a
Yeah.
motivation standpoint, yeah, having the audience is huge. It really helps you go.
It's a game
What
changer. Yeah.
what I've seen really difficult for some people is that um, they'll have just 300 readers that are very passionate about their story, and it's like, cool, that's 300 people. That is a lot of people. That's a small village of people that all really like you. You know, don't discount that. But
Yeah.
it's not enough to change your life. It's not enough to make you a professional, but it is enough to stress you out. And so I feel like if you're there, you're just at the worst of both worlds. So
Hmm.
not to
Yeah. I
discourage
can
those
see
people,
that.
but I feel like that's where I would have a really rough time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Well, we've got another question here about stats.
Mhm.
What does scaling do? Let me see if I can paraphrase this. It's about scaling stats and how they translate in your book. Like, what's the difference between stats and like the hundreds versus the tens versus the thousands? How are you thinking about how your characters scale?
Yeah, that's one where you just kind of have to take it as you go. For most of the stats, excuse me, for most of the stats, I set a regular human baseline around. I forget what I said. It's been so long since Bryn was like regular human sized, but you know, around the 30 or 40, maybe it was like 20 or 30, like pretty low as far as the system goes. And excuse me, just got something in my throat just now. So I set a baseline, and then I kind of set like, okay, you know, like vitality, this is how long a normal person could sprint without passing out. Strength, this is how much a normal person can bench press. You know, like just kind of went down the line. And then every time I multiply, you know, and then based it off that. If you're a 60, that means you're, you know, 2 or 3 times as strong as like a person in your body shape should be. And so, and like, which is why pre-system kids, even though they don't have classes yet, they put in enough work to get the attributes to be like, you know, double as strong as what a child their age should be capable of. So they're, you know, they're scaling walls and they're jumping too far and they're, you know, getting into all kinds of mischief. So I did have to kind of math that out. Every once in a while, I have to go back and like review my math, because like when I'm writing a chapter, I just want to write a story. You know, and
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
want to do the homework. But periodically, you got to be like, okay, where is he at? and like adjust the story to fit. Where
Like,
his
oh, he
legs
just
will come from.
sneezed. That house should have blown down. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're on Royal Road right now, and we talked a little bit about how your books are really good at having beginning, middle, end, and having a more cohesive story. But Royal Road is serial based. Do you enjoy Royal Road? Like, is that like, are you like a Royal Roader for life? You never go back? Like the serial format?
Yeah, the Royal Road has been an absolute blast. Like, I've been reading on it like forever, for a long time before I ever even started writing. And like, I'm never going to say like I'm going to use it forever. I'm not going to say like I would never consider it an alternative. But for right now, for this genre, for like what we're doing and who we are, that's where the excitement is. Like that's where the readers are. That's where the genre is. It's living on Royal Road. And so
Yeah.
you hear a lot like, oh, the comments are so mean. Like, I just can't believe how supportive my comments are. I do read them because I am like, I just need my egos stroked all the time. And
Yeah.
I'm way too, I can't, I'm just like way too insecure to not read them. So I do read them, and like, they're just overwhelmingly positive. We have like a great audience base.
There is a great community. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I like the serial format. I like that it comes with its own challenges, obviously, but I like the direct feedback. I write the chapter, and then I get response on how the chapter went immediately. And that's like so big for your writing to get that immediate feedback. Before I was writing like this, I was in a writers group. I'm losing my thoughts.
Yeah. It's the COVID is catching from, Richie, you gotta stop coughing into the microphone.
Okay, I didn't do anything.
First it was me, then it was the editor, then my narrator, and now we're just giving it to interviewees.
Still 100% blame you, Richie. Yeah, we caught it over the...
Well, then I'm not going to pick up any more books then. Rude.
He's still going to pick up the books.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, where was I?
Where were we?
Oh, yeah,
we were talking about Railroad.
Railroad's great. So I'm happy with it for now. I'm happy with big accountability. I like the format of doing a web novel, so I'll do that. Yeah. I might someday have a side hustle, and maybe I'll write the kind of book that you just released, and I'll just release it. But for now, it's been really fun.
Do you have a pretty big backlog for Patreon and stuff? Or are you writing?
Oh, yeah, no, not at all. Yeah. Hey, look, if you want author advice, you should have a really big backlog. It'd be so good for so many things. But no, I'm not the kind of guy that can live proactively. It's like I have a deadline. I'm going to be right on that deadline, right? Maybe towing the line of the deadline a little bit after.
Yeah. So, I don't know if Ryan, if you're still on here, can you give us a head bob or a shake a head of whether or not that's accurate that Miles is not the guy that he's
no, he knows because he's my first beta reader. So I committed to post something at 11 today, and he will get my chapter at 11. Oh,
yeah,
11.
Yeah, he's saying true. He's like, yeah, true. Yeah, verified. Love it. Okay. Well, I just want to be clear, Pop, that I wrote this question before you asked. I've seen that you do have another series called Another World. In Another World, I Must ... And then there's 3 books, I think. So is that series complete or is it active?
It's not complete, and as of now, it's not active. I got 30% of into book 4, and then Bog Standard exploded. And then it stopped making sense to keep writing it. Yeah. I still love that series, and I would love to go back to it. And so I'm not going to write it off completely, as I'll never do that. But how well Bog is doing, it's really hard to make the argument now that it's worth my time. I have so much time to give to writing, and Bog is doing awesome. And it's also the case that if I came out with something completely new, it also would probably do better than In Another World, because, I'm not going to discredit it. I still think they're great books, but if I wrote book 4, that would mean that everybody has to go read book 1 first. And book 1 is the first book I ever published. So obviously it's not going to be as good as the book that I write next.
Yeah.
So
have you ever thought about writing a book 4 that wraps up the story in some way, or just to put a cap on it?
Yeah, and I don't think I could do that. I plotted that out as a 7-book series, and I don't see any way of shortening that. If I did it, I would want to complete their original outline. The one thing I think I could do is go back and redo 1 through 3 and polish some of those rough edges and put up to a standard I'm happy with.
Yeah.
And maybe relaunch. But even then, it's people that liked the book as it is. And I don't want to insult those fans by trying to tell them that they were wrong for liking it, So it's a hard argument to make for me. But like I said, I still really like it. So
maybe someday when you you don't have to work anymore.
It's look, I mean, Patreon, if somebody wants to pay me my day job worth of money to write that instead, I'll do it. But it's a maybe someday thing. I'd like to do it, and that's really all I can say for now.
So you heard him. If you guys start a GoFundMe, we can maybe get the end of the series. Yeah.
I think they would, but they would just want to do a GoFundMe to write Bog faster, So
probably. Yeah. Well, okay. So we're gonna go back to some of the fan questions. This Is Not Fake is asking, at the beginning, let's see. There's a bunch of chapters about showing how characters are feeling envious over differences in stats and powers in your series. How much disparity is there really between the various characters that are having those feelings?
Okay, so I think we're talking about like the golden children of Hammond's Bog here, and if it's there, it's like a lot of people have brought this up to me that like, that they don't feel like the some of the secondary characters have earned all of the power that they have, but it's like. And maybe I haven't done a good job of showing that, but it's like these guys aren't on screen all the time. I write 100% minus interludes in the perspective of the main character. And so he sees everything he does, but he doesn't see everything everybody else does to gain their power. So that is an element that maybe I would adjust if I took more time to edit. But any time that I was taking to edit, I think that would take mean that I don't have a new chapter, and I think people would rather see that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges with writing more first person is that you just don't have that omniscient narrator that sees all the sweat and tears everybody puts in, right? So it sounds like there's a little bit of that differences in power between characters is just maybe an artifact of that first person narrative. Like, is Bryn aware that they are weaker or stronger, Yeah.
And there's like the way that I've written it, there's always this issue of like data information management, because it's like nobody is going to give you their ace in the hole until they have to use it. And so like we always assume people are weaker than they are until they show like their one secret trick that they've been hiding in their back pocket their whole life.
Yeah. Do you have like a complicated system to keep track of, what everybody knows about each other, or what that secret ace of the hole is?
That would be really smart if I did do that.
You sound like a true pantser. I read in an AMA that you actually do a little bit of plotting, at least. Yeah. How do you manage this? I mean, you sound pretty like a pretty chaotic pantser, honestly.
I do a lot of plotting, and I'm a pantser at heart. Let's start there. It's like I love the exploration process. I love experiencing the story like as I'm writing it, and like I love to have the freedom. When I come to a chapter, it's not fun to write unless if I have already decided everything that's going to happen. I love to have a little bit of freedom to like feel out the scene and like get the right mood and get and like explore, discover what's going on like as I'm writing it. But at the same time, I know that my books are much better the more in-depth my outline is, and so I do strike a bit of a balance there. So I do have an outline for every book. I usually have an outline for the book I'm writing and the next book after it, like completed before I start. So like I do plan ahead, and then I have like a series outline that is, a lot more loose, but it's like, I do know where I'm going in the series, that, the exact outline of what, I'm on book 5 now. The outline of book 6 is pretty good, but the outline of book 7 and 8 are extremely bare bones right now. And, how many books it's going to take to tell all the story elements, that could change too. But so I try to solve the story as much as I can before I write the book. And the main reason of that is, if you're going to have a plot, then like people can tell if you're faking it. People can tell if you're driving towards a destination. They might not know what the destination is. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully that like if I'm trying to do a murder mystery type deal, that they don't know all the details of who the murderer is until I get there. But like people are not stupid. Like they can tell if you're driving in a direction and you know where you're going, and they can tell if you're just like faking it as you go along. And so I make sure that like when I'm writing, I can look him in the eyes and say, yes, you are in capable hands here. I know where we're going, and I can take you where we need to go. So
and I think that comes across. I mean, to your point, readers are smart. It definitely comes across as a reader that you've got a plan, which is honestly why it's so surprising to hear that you're such a sort of chaotic pantser, because the the plot and the storyline and the arcs are, you know, well executed. So yeah.
Yeah, well, and especially in a web serial format, you can't fake it. You know, like I can't go back and be like, oh, I forgot to give all the clues that this is going to happen throughout the entire story. I'll just go fix that real quick. It's like, no, they've already read it. Some people will read it once and that's it. And they'll stick with you forever. But what you wrote, you know, 2 years ago in chapter 3, they're going to remember that version of
The
it.
original
You can't change
version.
it anymore.
Yeah.
So like, so if I'm going to put those clues in, then I need to know what I'm aiming at.
What's going to happen.
Earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, the outline is the only way to go. It's the only way to do it.
So we've got another question. Is there any point where you wanted to take the plot in a certain direction, but you did something else? Like you're like, they're going to turn right here, and they're like, oh no, actually we're going to turn left. Anything like that?
Oh yeah, book 1 was extremely extremely different than how I had my original outline. That one had the most adjustment on all of it. Yeah. My first outline had him getting the class he gets at the end of the book right in the middle, and then and so what takes place in both books was going to be just the book 1. And as I was writing it, you know, I got a third of the way through, and I'm like, oh, he just arrived in town. This is taking a lot longer than I thought. And then, you know, so it just pretty quickly learned that okay, I'm not going to be able to tell this in one book. And so that got split in half and lengthened out, and I'm happy with it. When I was writing this, I'm like, I want this to be an easy book for me to write. I want to sit down, and when I'm writing it, it's just fun, and I'm motivated because I actually like doing it. And so that, to me, that meant that I have to be able to take my time and set the scenery. You know, I'm going to set the table before I have dinner, because I enjoy the steak more if I have a plate and a knife rather than just I'm gnawing on it straight off the table. So it's you know, that was for me. It meant that the pacing might be slower than it would have been otherwise, but being able to write it this way made it more fun for me.
Yeah,
that's what made the difference.
Well, and it makes sense. I mean, first books, you know, you're still trying to get your process nailed down and get your arcs nailed down. And yeah, I have a Tuckerization that was supposed to be a chapter long and ended up being a whole 20 chapters that I don't regret. It's great. But yeah, sometimes your plans.
If I had kept my original outline, I don't know, people have probably read it. I'll speak in vagaries. That the fake out class that he takes before he got his first class, the original outline didn't have that happening, and a lot of people hated that part, and I still stand by it. I still think it's way better for having that element in it. So
I think it's good because it juxtaposes what a different choice would have given him, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you get that zoom in. All right, so we've got a few last audience questions, and we'll get to, you know, where we can find you and all the good stuff. So let's see. How deep have you gone into Frenarian as the world building? Do you have a lot of the language mapped out? Do you have a big map? How deep have you got that all figured out?
So I do have a map, and you can find that on my website. Just go to the wiki and search for Bogworld, and you click into it, and it'll expand for you. Yeah. So I did the map as far as the history. I needed to force myself to never have the chapter where Bryn goes to his friend and is like, what's the political situation? And then his friend is like, so as you know, 300 years ago in the reign of King Osgard, the Black Knight, I'm like, no, you're not allowed to write that chapter. It's so I haven't gotten too far into the history. There's some stuff that has appeared on screen as the history. I know a little more than you do about what's going on there, but I'm never going to give you a history lesson until it matters for the story. So
yeah,
and then exactly. Yeah, and then as far as the language goes, I did when I got motivated one day and I sat down and I made a 30-word vocabulary, and I made some grammar rules, and I'm like, yeah, this is some stuff to sprinkle in the future, and I never really got a chance to use that. So I just so then when I added some more languages, Frenarian to start, but then there's like Prenashian and Arcanian. That was like more vibes based. Like this kind of language is like more rigid and heavily gendered. This kind of language is like loose and flowing, and to what extent I can, I try to put that into the way that people talk. But it would be I love the idea of making a complete conlong for Frenarian and just have it completely like detailed out.
When you don't have a day job and that
exactly.
Stuff.
Again, any time that I'm spent doing that is time that I'm not writing, and people would rather have another chapter rather than a vocabulary list. Most people, and the ones that would rather have the vocabulary, those are the true players. But sadly, I'm going for
So I've heard you say a couple different things. The series, you're on book 5 right now. Do you have like I know you said it's a little flexible where sometimes, you've got like 8, maybe 9 books planned out. Is that going to be it-ish, or, how long do you think the series is going to be?
8 or 9 is it-ish, with the caveat that like, there's so much I can do in this world, and I can solve the main conflict in that amount of time, but also maybe not. So if I get to book 8 and I'm like loving life and I was like, I want to write 10 more books of Bog, then I might write 10 more books of Bog, and we'll go that direction.
All right, you heard it here first. We got 20 books of Bog.
That's right.
Yeah. I love it. So another question from Joshua. Have any of your kids read Bog? What age do you think?
I thought they were going to be a little scary for my kids, so I was like, we're just not even going to talk about this. But my son read the first one like last year, and he was 11 and loved it. And I was like, it wasn't kind of scary, when that thing happens and your face melts off? And he's like, that wasn't scary, Dad. If you want to read a real scary book, you need to read Warrior Cats. I'm like, okay, whatever. So he read it and loved it. So there you go. 12 years old is a good age to start it. I try to keep the content like very accessible to general audiences, but I think that like the really freaky stuff that happens doesn't bother kids as much as it does adults. And so like, I think it's probably fine, but my 8-year-old and my 10-year-old have not read it, and I'm not going to force the issue. So it's not what I'm going to be like as their bag.
Heck, I've got a 22-year-old, and she was like, I think this book would be, like if it was like a comic.
Oh yeah. Like I would love to make a comic, and I'm in talks about that. We'll see how it goes.
Dun dun dun. All right. Well, let's get some logistics out of the way. So you and I met during Dragon Con at Shadow Alley booth. Do you have other cons that you're going to this year, or what's your con plan for next year?
I want to do Lit RPG Con because I heard that was an absolute blast. I think this was the first year they did it, and everyone that went raves about it. So I'm going to do that. It's in Denver, so I think I can drive there. Yeah, that should be. I think it's like a 6 or 7 hour drive. I might just drive it, and definitely going to that, and I'll be going to we'll be going to Dragon Con again. It's a blast every year. It's a huge party, and it's like really friendly to Lit RPG. There's like so much going on that's just Lit RPG, and just the way it's grown. I've only gone 2 years, and the way it's grown just from last year to this year was crazy how big it's expanding. So
where are you normally hanging out at the cons? Are you like a 2 a.m. raver? Are you at the Westin?
It's all the authors are at the Westin. If you want to meet an author, you could show up to their booth, but they're probably crowded with a bunch of other fans. But most of the Lit RPG authors are just like hanging out in the Westin like all day. So if you want to come say hi and like for a longer conversation, that's usually a good place to find me. I go to the panels too. I just like wander around, and I'm like, oh, weird. This is like baking in 4th century France. Okay, let's do it. So I like to just like be surprised and just wander.
Last year I wandered into like robot fights. I was like, this is actually pretty fun. Watching robots fight. I
did. I went to that too this year. That was sweet. Yeah,
right?
I mean, like, yeah, but like as I've watched like the BattleBots show. What network is that on? I was in Vegas like 4 years ago, and we are looking for something to do, and
You
there's
went to Vegas to
BattleBots.
go to the
So we
BattleBots.
went to
Yeah.
like the live show, and it was
Yeah.
so cool. And so yeah, this year I saw that. I'm like, oh yeah, so down. And that goes on forever. It's like 4 hours of just
Right.
robots
It was just
fighting.
it was just bot after bot, and everybody had their little suitcases full of parts to help repair things. Yeah. So you gave me Richie because I don't have access to the chat. Can you share Miles's socials into the chat for everybody? So you're about to get a socials dump from Richie. I think you've got like Facebook, Discord. I don't know. Are you on Instagram, TikTok? What's the best places to catch you?
I am on Discord all day. I'm not a good social media person. I talk very little on Discord, but I do read everything that goes on my Discord. So it's the real English author Discord, and I think I sent you the link already. So that's like the number one place to find me. I'm on Twitter.
Ironically, I emailed you because I couldn't, whatever reason we weren't connected on Discord, but yeah, I'll be Discord messaging.
Yeah, we emailed back and forth like 20 times. I'm like,
I know. I was like, this is like
Discord, because that's
1995.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so Discord is the place to catch you.
Yeah, and I mean, I will respond if you find me on Facebook or Twitter. It's just I might respond slower. I don't check those every single day.
Yeah. Ryan's starting a wild rumor. He's saying that most people have bookshelves in the background, but you don't because you don't read.
Like there's a bookshelf right here.
My bookshelf's over there, Miles. I'm with you on this one. Yeah. Normally mine is in the background, but I rearranged the room a little bit. So
I'm just checking how Ryan on that one is here. My bookshelf is to the left, and it's behind the camera, so you can't see. But then, like my game cabinet.
Okay.
Gamer. This is my overflow game. I have a bigger game cabinet upstairs. Mm-hmm. So I do have some very cool down here.
I mean, to be fair, you got two doors behind you, which is trouble for bookshelves. But yeah.
It's the angle. I could put a bookshelf underneath that painting there and then like move the camera angle. But
yeah,
you guys can see my very fancy CO2 detector there.
You look safe. That's what you look like.
Yeah, exactly. This is what's important, guys.
Yeah. Well, what is so since you're denying being anti-reading, what is a book that you have read that you would put on Pop's TBR? What is your recommendation?
I was gonna say Land of Broken Roads by Ryan English, but no, I'm not. No, I'm not sure if I should anymore. If he says I don't even read, well, I read one book. No, seriously, it's so good. So
yeah, Ryan, can you actually put the name of the book and maybe a link into the general chat, please, for that?
Yeah, it's hard to, because people are like, when they want recommendations, they want Lit RPG, but it's just a fantastic book. Read that. Yeah. And then what my favorites on Royal Road right now, I don't even want to talk about Max Level Archmage in Another World or Sky Pride because they're doing so good that they don't need an extra boost.
Yeah,
they're so good. I really like Jade Demons Must Die. Oh, dang it! It's Jade Dragons Must Die. It's a revenge story. It's a lit RPG, but also cultivation, and it's fast paced and just like so awesome and truly undiscovered gem. And then let's see. Yeah, those. There's another one that I really, really like right now. Hope you don't mind.
Okay. And so it's Jade Dragons Must Die. Is that on Royal Road?
Yeah. Yeah. So. Dang it, where is it? Jade Shadows Must Die. Sorry.
Jade Shadows.
I got it wrong twice.
Jade Shadows Must Die. Okay.
I'm a terrible person. Definitely pick that one up. Legend of William O. Once again, I don't need to recommend that guy. He is so famous, but he is so good. Yeah. That one is definitely worth picking up. Okay, this is the one. Plum Parrot, Neon Dust. There's a lot of cyberpunk out there right now,
Yeah.
And that one is my favorite. So
okay. Neon Dust by Plum Parrot. Okay. Well, thanks for those recommendations. When is your next book coming out on Amazon? When is book 4 coming out?
book 4 is scheduled to come out in February.
Okay.
We like to have the next book done before we release the previous book. So I am not going to release book 5 or book 4 until the first draft of book 5 is done. That gives us padding and makes sure that we're never going to like screw ourselves over by not delivering to Amazon when we said we would.
Yeah.
So
They will
keep that cadence. And
yeah.
But
and when it comes out, is that
February-
going to be digital, physical, audio, all in one?
Yeah, we're going to do all 3 on release day for sure.
Yeah.
Once in a while, shenanigans will mean that the print isn't out for 12 hours later or whatever, or like there'll be a delay in the audio, but we will be ready with all 3 on release day, and then Amazon can do what they want with that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try really hard to push that release day up. My personal goal is December. I would love to have it for you in November, but that would mean me working a lot of extra nights.
Yeah.
So
Go fund me.
Yeah. I will do my best on that, but February is the absolute latest. And like I said, we're going to really try and get that done in 2025.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. So you heard it. Depending on the GoFundMe, it may be as early as November, but probably, February. So,
Yeah.
All right. And then when you move that date, is that going to be, are you going to splash it across all your socials, or is there a place where you want us to just get our book updates from, whether that's Patreon or Facebook? Or
if you're following me on any social, those book updates will appear. I also sort of have a mailing list. I do sometimes remember to use that, but you can find that on my website. But yeah, any social or Discord, that's where you hear first is on Discord. That's where everybody is.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Miles. We've definitely made it over the hour mark, which is
of course.
Yeah, easy. I probably could talk to you for another hour, but great audience questions too. You guys are awesome. Some really well thought out questions. Really appreciate everybody coming and joining us tonight. So yeah. Any last words?
No. Yeah. Go out, read my books, and honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for inviting me on this.
Yeah.
It's I'm gonna have to listen to every single one of these because this was just a ton of fun. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for being here. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a good night. Just so you know, the next one that I'm going to be leading is probably sometime next week. I'm going to have Jay Krause talking about Shattered Smile. We're still hammering out which specific day, as he's in the middle of a big move. So once he gets settled, settled and has internet at his new place, we'll get that posted, and we'll see you next week. All right. Thanks everybody.
Yep. Thank you.